You know, honestly, actually, that's the only thing about looking at any of this stuff that actually really pisses me off.
Is the crazy partisanship.
Coming across somebody that I can tell legitimately believes in something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you serious? It's time that you grow up and become jaded like the rest of us. You don't see through what's going on around here? You really can't see through that. You're that optimistic. Oh, you think this is the first one that's coming along asking for your vote that's not going to lie and cheat you? The first one in all of history. And it happened during your lifetime. Good job, buddy. You're so lucky you happen to be alive now, and you're voting, you're on the right side of history. Oh, I can't handle that shit anymore. No fucking patience for those people. I really don't.
Drowning in the shallow end of the deep state. This is the New World Order Now broadcast. Coming to you live from the end of the world.
That's correct. This is the New World Order Now. We are coming to you live from the end of the world. We're recording, right?
Well, since you just did that.
Oh, yeah.
Since you just killed the continuity, I guess I was going to try to slyly point that out to you at some point, but...
How do you reset? Yay!
But yes, we are recording.
All right. That's right. This is the New World Order Now. We are coming to you live from the end of the world. I am your host, the Hatman. This is your other host, Talking Head number 5. I have no idea what's going on in the world right now. I am still in my Zelda hole.
Zelda hole, let the madness take you over, Zelda hole.
I mean, it's getting bad. I mean, 20 hours the other day, just 20 hours.
Oh, yeah, that's like that's a half a work week.
It is so addictive that I do not want to get up when I'm hungry. I am loath to put that game on pause.
Is that why there's all the bite marks in the chair?
That is not me. I'm not going to say who that is. I think that I'm going to respect her privacy.
Nah, it's a classy move.
Thank you. I do not kiss and tell, and I do not, she does not bite and tell. Yeah, man. So I don't know. I stuck my nose up out from under my rock and I got a whiff of something. There's something about Ukraine is no longer a thing. And there's a lot of people who are angry at the Jews, and a lot of people are angry about hummus.
I mean, I think they may want to just, like, add some other things to the hummus for a little bit more flavoring. I mean, it is a little bland since it's just, like, ground up chickpeas and all that.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think I'm correct in saying that hummus is made of chickpeas.
So what happened? This terrorist group did something?
From what I understand, there was some kind of festival, that they bombed.
Okay.
And, then, you know, of course, Israel was like, hey, everybody who's in Palestine, in the Gaza area, you need to evacuate because we're about to bomb the crap out of Hamas. And also there's nowhere to evacuate to, so have fun with that.
Makes sense. Well, I mean, I was talking to Harry about this a few episodes ago. I mean, I was watching this documentary a while ago about the Gaza Strip and the stuff there, and it's this
just the history of the political strife in that region. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was talking about how, like, you know, there used to be Jews over there anyway, and everybody got along until Israel, and then they set up these borders. It was a massive land grab. They're pushing the Palestinians up against it's like an open air prison. They can't get supplies, blah, blah, blah. And I'm watching this going, wow, no wonder this issue is so controversial. And I forget the name of the woman who produced this documentary, but the funny thing was I watched it on YouTube. And before you can watch it on YouTube, a black screen comes up and it says, this documentary contains extremely controversial content, blah, blah, blah. You have to click here to continue, which I was like, I've never seen this before. That's kind of strange.
Do you think that was YouTube or them?
I'm pretty sure that was YouTube. Because you had to click.
Oh, no, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. So, I'm watching this whole thing and, is talking about the Israelis, and they're interviewing the Israelis, and they're like, listen, Jerusalem, we have a right to Jerusalem. This invisible grandfather in the sky says so. It's written here in this book, in this chapter, on this page. We have a right to this. Like, wow, this is really messed up. I've never considered this side of it. Then they start interviewing the Palestinians. And the Palestinians are sitting there going, we have a right to Jerusalem. This invisible person says so. It's in this book, on this piece of paper, blah, blah, blah. And I turned it off. I was like, oh, no, fuck both of you. I'm done with this whole thing. This is silly. The whole thing's fucking silly. So, I mean, I understand that's probably a really simplistic, perhaps childish way to look at it.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's a reductive view.
How much more? Yeah, reductive is a good word. What am I missing?
So I don't actually know. I don't know a ton about the history of how all that came to be. I know that there's been like a lot of cultural backsliding in that area. Like if you look at places like Iran and stuff like that. During like even the 50s and 60s, they were very cosmopolitan. They were very trying to become a part of like the greater world, as like that was coming about. Oh, like just people in the Middle East in general. Like different cultures there and everything. It's like I know that at different times in the past, like the countries over there have been like a lot more progressive, and there was a lot of backsliding in the area where everybody started becoming very fundamentalist about religion, and a lot of that started bleeding into the government. And it's like that whole thing is like a very complex history of how we got to this weird point.
Didn't the CIA have a direct hand in bringing the Ayatollah into power?
We've done a lot of fuckery out there.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people don't like us, apart from the fact that we're obviously very both monetarily and socially invested in Israel. Which, causes a lot of friction, because obviously a lot of people in that area don't like Israel. And it's definitely become like this quagmire of different reasons that everybody has for doing it. And it almost makes me wonder like what the underpinnings of that are. It's one of those things where it's like, is it really just about this religious right to this land? Is it really more about people trying to capitalize for power in the area, using religion as a standpoint? It's like, I don't know.
Well,
I'm really poorly versed in it.
Well, every time, you know what? You and I can't be the only people on the face of this continent that don't know anything about this topic, but because everybody seems to have a fucking really strong opinion about this. And I have to assume nobody else knows a whole lot more.
I think it's definitely one of those things where it feels like you get told how you're supposed to feel about it.
Well, see, that's the thing that I think is funny. That's the way I felt about Ukraine. We were told directly how we're supposed to feel about this. It seems like there's a massive divide, and there is no politically correct right way to look at this issue.
And
that's funny to me.
I think the humorous juxtaposition between the two situations is that there are so many people who are in the Stand By Israel camp that are like, stop giving Ukraine money. And it's kind of strange to me.
Oh, so is there like there is a left sort of opinion that giving money to Ukraine good, and because I thought we were kind of stepping away from that whole thing. Isn't that like old news at this point? I mean, we are backing down our investiture in their struggle.
I don't 100% know what that situation is. I mean, I know that we're still definitely doing, something to help them or whatever. Yeah, I have not been paying attention to the news lately, so it's like, I roughly understand how the Ukraine conflict came about, and that's like been years in the making. But like the Israel thing with Gaza and all of that is like decades in the making. So it's like, I'm not really sure how that started and everything, but you've definitely got this strange thing going on where it seems like the left, for the most part, is along with helping Ukraine. And I think everybody was kind of on the helping Ukraine thing, and then all of a sudden it's become like a thing where I think largely because of the entire Biden Burisma thing that Trump like sat there and tried to get brought into the light to win the election, that all of a sudden the right has kind of soured on Ukraine.
Doesn't seem that way. I mean, there's a lot of senators that when they talk about the money that we are investing in Ukraine. This is pretty recent. What's the guy's name that looks like a sad dog all the time? He's like no expression, and his cheeks are down like.
Are you talking about Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, he's sitting there being quoted. There's footage of him go, "Best money we ever spent. Best money we ever spent." You're like not allowed to question it. I mean, that was like across the aisle to give that money.
Mitch McConnell at this point, hasn't he been like abandoned by the Freedom America Caucus or whatever? Like, don't they see him as like
I don't know what that is.
As a shill? Well, like all the heavy MAGA Trumper people who are in office, like I think that they're like, fuck Mitch McConnell. He's a shill. Yeah.
Well, he's definitely proving them right.
Oh, well, he 100% is a shill. I mean, like, that's the thing. But, like, they were fine with him until he sat there and kind of refused to side with Trump after January 6th.
Okay. So he is...
Persona non grata now.
What do you mean side with Trump after January 6th?
So after they had the impeachment, after the January 6th riot at the Capitol, and they sat there and they did the impeachment, and of course they didn't vote to convict or anything because they just didn't have the votes. You have to have a 2/3 majority, and obviously it went almost completely along partisan lines. There were 7 Republicans who sat there and voted to convict, but that only brought it up to 57, and you need 2/3 of 100, and so that falls short.
What criminal charges was he even being...
He wasn't being criminal charged, it was an impeachment. Impeachment has no criminal repercussions to it. It's just to bar you from being in office again.
Yeah, but doesn't he have to have broken a law or a constitutional statute?
It's a purely political mechanism.
Really?
It's basically when the government has no faith in a governing officer, they can impeach.
Oh, so it's like that thing that they did in that Star Wars.
I vote of no confidence.
Vote
kind
of no
thing.
confidence. Yeah. That's what it is.
So yeah, basically impeachment. Okay. Impeachment is a political mechanism that the country can use to get people out of elected offices before their tenure in that office is up.
See, I thought when they did it with Clinton, they weren't even going to be able to do it without that, what do you call it when somebody's lying?
Perjury?
Without the perjury charge. I thought they needed a charge.
No, so you just need to draft articles of impeachment. Articles of impeachment, the way that the clause is written in the Constitution that governs impeachment is that you can be impeached. Any public officer, including the president and vice president, can be impeached for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. That's the language of the Constitution. So the thing that ends up being funky about it is because they made the language so vague.
That's not vague.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. How is that vague? It says crimes.
So the reason why it's vague is because it's a term of art that is from the time when the Constitution was made. It doesn't actually mean felonies and misdemeanors. The way that you translate high crimes and misdemeanors comes from British common law. And high crimes and misdemeanors did not necessarily mean that you have to have done like a felony or a misdemeanor, because if you could be impeached for a misdemeanor can be like drunken disorderly conduct.
Yeah,
so
sure.
if a judge got drunk or the president got drunk, you could throw him out of office.
Makes sense to me.
But my point is that that's not what it meant as a legal term of art in the British common law, which is where we designed all of our law after.
So why do you think there's so much of British common law in our judiciary process?
Because
our legislative process.
Because we specifically designed it after them.
Okay.
We took all of our cues. The founding fathers, if you sit there and read the Federalist Papers and stuff like that, which I haven't read, but I've heard parts of it described that are about why they built it the way that they built it, is because that they did actually like the way that British law operated. They thought it was a sensible system. And you got to remember that even in the time of King George and everything, that Parliament had a lot more power than they did prior. The Crown had kept giving more power to the people because, and that's probably why that monarchy still exists when other ones have been overthrown,
right,
is because as times changed and we moved away from serfdom and moved into the governance of law and into commerce as an effective way for people to be. Because it used to just be like, oh, okay, the king rules the country and you're all serfs. You sit there and you do what you need to do for your family. Percentage of your grain and shit goes to the granaries for the crown in case of famines and stuff like that. That was governance at that time. As you started getting more artisans and more specific jobs and you started moving away.
Specialization.
Yeah. And as you started moving into technology in particular, as things
Industrial
started
Revolution,
it changed the entire paradigm of the way that society worked. And basically monarchies ended up with two choices. And one was to secede more power to the governing bodies that weren't part of the House of Lords and the Crown itself, or to possibly have a revolution. And, France, it was the revolution. England sat there and seceded power to Parliament. And so by the time you hit the American Revolution, you've got a situation where the founding fathers felt like they liked the principles by which British common law operated. The thing that they disagreed with were two things, and one was the absolute power of the monarchy, because they felt like that had no place, hence we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Like, that was their big thing, was that nobody should be born into power.
Mm-hmm.
They agreed with the legal system. They didn't agree with the hierarchy of the crown at the top of the government and the lords and all of that.
So when you see British common law being referred to and used so liberally within our own country, you're not sitting there thinking that the British government per se still has any involvement in our processes. You are just looking at it sort of as an historical relic on paper.
We used the template of their legal system to create ours.
Mm.
So we adopted the template of the British legal system because they thought it was a sensible system. They liked the common sense of the way that the laws were written and everything like that. They disagreed with the monarchy being there, and they also disagreed with, because you have to remember, we're also coming from a time at this point where in order to vote in America, you have to be a landowner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so everybody's like, oh, everybody has the right to vote. And like, people remember that, like, okay, black people didn't have the right to vote. Women didn't have the right to vote. When the country first started, only landowners had the right to vote. If you didn't own land, you had no voice in government.
Mm-hmm.
And when they sat there and they had people, governors who were from Britain overseeing the colonies themselves actually had their own state legislatures and stuff like that were American people that were sitting there and doing this. And then when they would try to do things like impeachment to sit there and get rid of somebody who they felt like was coming down on them from the crown would stand up against them and defy their ability to sit there and vote over their own governance. And so a lot of that is what built up that powder keg that led to revolt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, but the British Crown have been losing a tremendous amount of power for some time. I mean, you're the one who mentioned the East India Trading Company to me. And when most people think about British colonialism, they consider this to be an act of aggression from the British military against sovereign powers. It was not actually the case. Most of it was perpetuated, according to what you told me, by a corporation.
Oh, sure, and that I think was one of the killing blows that brought about the revolution, is because you have to understand that, as a British person very humorously put it, he's like, Americans don't understand. You think that the American Revolution was this really big, important thing in history? It's like, it's only important to you. You weren't even our most important colony. India was.
Right.
And so the whole thing is that what ended up happening was that the whole thing about the British East Indies, like, the British East India Company became so powerful and so large that the company was governing India.
Right.
Not the crown.
Right.
Britain wasn't governing India. The British East India, that would be like if fucking Amazon was governing, like, Puerto Rico.
They're not?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm sure they're governing all of us with their dollars, but, you know, I mean, as far as, like, the actual governance of the whole thing.
Right.
But there was so much shady shit going on over in India with the British East India Company that was actually one of the things that sparked the American Revolution, was that they were worried that would happen to us.
Okay.
And so the whole thing about, like, the taxation and everything like that, because what ended up happening was they ended up, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get this 100% right, because it's been a while since I sat there and boned up on the whole thing. Haha, boned up. But what ended up happening was when the British East India Company sat there and basically, like, kind of did what our CIA does in the Middle East and shit like that, where they kind of, like, manipulated certain, like, people who were in power and players over there who, like, were parts of, you know, their dynastic monarchies that were in India and stuff like that. They basically did power plays and manipulation to get to the point where what they could do in India was they sat there and they were levying taxes from the people in India while they were making the people of India work to manufacture textiles and stuff to sit there and go over. So basically a company was politically running India that had put a system into place through making deals with the people who used to be in power in India, so that basically they governed people, they taxed them, sat there and made money off the taxes, and then used the tax money to buy the textiles that they had them making, and then made profit off the textiles by exporting them. So it was slavery in all but name.
It kind of sounds like the World Bank today.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you want to draw that parallel, sure.
It's not that far off.
But so when the American colonists sat there and started seeing what was happening over there, I think that was something that when they started getting wind of it, they started getting nervous as a colony that was going to start happening to us as well.
So the taxation without representation, it wasn't necessarily the crown extracting taxes. It was a private corporation.
Yeah. It was governing India, collecting taxes from the Indian people, paying for textiles from the Indian people with the taxes that they levied on the Indian people, and then selling those textiles to other countries for a profit.
Right. So, you know what I found out, and you were drawing a parallel to the CIA. CIA is incorporated as a for-profit corporation. Legally.
Oh, are they?
According to these papers that a certain someone just gave me, yeah.
That's interesting.
I'd have
to look into it to verify, but yeah.
The Federal Reserve...
Well, I know that is separate from our government, yeah.
...is a non-profit corporation.
That seems to not make sense, but...
I know. Little strange, right? But you know why they do it that way. That way, the Federal Reserve is immune from income taxes.
I cannot verify any of those facts, but interesting if true.
So let's pretend that that's true. It seems like... So is the East India Trading Company the first where the power of the corporate structure first reared its ugly head and usurped any type of democratic due process in the way that people and civilizations live?
I mean, it's definitely one of the earliest, if not the earliest one that I've seen of like a massive corporate entity basically becoming in control of a political system simply through dealings.
Because I remember, when I was in school, they mentioned the name. There was like one chapter on it.
Oh yeah, like deemed thoroughly unimportant.
It did not go into depth into it at all whatsoever.
But yeah, so I ended up looking into this oddly enough because I was watching Ms. Marvel on Disney Plus.
Oh God.
Sorry. I actually thought it was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
How old are you? Are you 12?
No, it was actually pretty good.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay. Hey, listen.
Not my favorite out of the MCU.
Next time iCarly comes on, I'll make sure that I record it for you. No problem.
You're such a turd burglar. But no, so I was watching it and they had brought up this concept of I forget what the fucking term that they use for it. It's a term that's specific to it. But so what I didn't know about and what made me look into the history of India is because I didn't realize that Pakistani people are Indian people.
Okay.
So Pakistan actually is all the Indian people who were of the Muslim faith.
Okay.
Ended up, I think they called it the partition or something like that. So basically, eventually what ended up happening is due to bad governance and bad corporate actions, the British East India Company started failing. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the first cases of a company being too big to fail. Mm. So the crown actually had to intervene in India. Mm-hmm. And what they did when they intervened in India was they sat there and they started procedures to give the Indian people their country back. Mm-hmm. To a certain extent.
Okay.
So the British government started taking
over. That's
where
we have like Gandhi or...
Yeah, so the British government started taking over the governance of India from the British East India Company because the British East India Company started falling apart financially.
Okay.
And so when they sat there and they started that process, there was a lot of upheaval in the politics of the region because, pardon me, Indian people were split religiously between being Muslim and being Hindu. And so what ended up happening was that the Hindu people and the Islamic people ended up having this really big issue with each other because when you think about what those two groups believe, it's very impossible to sit there and have a country where those two people are integrated at that time. Because Hindus believe that killing a cow is murder because they believe in reincarnation. Muslim people slaughter cows in a very specific fucking way for it to sit there and be okay.
Well, I don't understand what this has to do with the East India Company. Why wouldn't that religious divide exist beforehand?
It did. That doesn't have to do with the East India Company. But what I found fascinating about it is the reason why like Pakistan ended up being separated from India is because of this untenable difference of religious views between the people. So there was this huge upheaval where when the British government itself stepped in to intervene in the British East India Company situation, there was this whole thing where like there were Muslims slaughtering Hindus and Hindus slaughtering Muslims.
Yeah, that sounds like
as they sat there and tried to get all the Muslim people tried to get over to what was being partitioned off as Pakistan, while all the people who were Hindus who lived in that area were desperately trying to cross that border into India.
Okay.
And so it just turned to like this whole fucking nightmare, and that was brought up in the Ms. Marvel show. Okay. Because her family fled Pakistan during partition.
So that's how you ended up down that rabbit hole from watching...
Yeah, exactly. So it ended up turning into a situation where I started looking into like the history of it because I'm like, oh, this is a fascinating time in history that I kind of know nothing about. Then you end up finding out it's all because of this corporation that basically fucking tricked, blackmailed, and fucked with people in India to get them to essentially sign their country over to a fucking company to sit there and make massive profits on a global scale.
Well, it definitely sounds like perverse incentives at work. So what year was it when the East India Trading Company was making their moves into India? When did all this start? Was 16 something?
Yeah, so that all started during the same spice trade that ended up having Christopher Columbus eventually discover America.
14.
Yeah, so somewhere between 14 and 1600, I forget.
So
exactly
this corporation was like 500 years old.
Yeah, a very old corporation. I forget exactly when they incorporated. I'm sure I could look it up if we want to know.
Interesting.
But it was prior to the American Revolution, obviously.
It's interesting to me that people don't necessarily learn that the historical struggles that all people seemingly of all times go through is not ideological, religious in nature. It's just money.
Yeah.
Always has been, always will be. It's when the game is set up so that in order to really profit, you have to do your job so poorly, you're doing the opposite thing that you're supposed to do. Like, in order to be a really successful pharmaceutical company, you have to make sure that people are unhealthy and not getting better. In order to be a really successful politician, you cannot have your constituents' best interests at heart. That's called perverse incentives. And that seems to be the single most important reason why the peoples of the world have struggled historically, always. So people get so wrapped up in ideology. I mean, after 9/11, I remember everybody waving flags around, and a bunch of my friends went off and joined the military.
Yeah,
sure,
right
your friends
school,
too.
Yeah.
Yep. Went off to join the Marines and everything. Adam, I think, joined the Marines.
Yeah. Well, there were a few from our high school who joined the Marines. Yep.
Yeah. And everybody had flag bumper stickers and flags on their antennas.
There was this glorious moment that I remember right after 9/11, though, where everybody was just fucking into like each other. Like, hey man, you okay? Like
yeah,
like,
we got to stick together. Well, I mean, I remember that right after the pandemic started.
Yeah, just this sense of, I mean, it didn't last as long with the pandemic because there were so many people who were trying to
person on the other side of the counter selling me beer. Yeah. Looked in my eyes and said sincerely, hey man, be careful out there.
Yeah.
And I could tell they fucking meant it. And I looked back at them, I said, yeah, you too. And my look said, thank you. It's scary. And
4 weeks later, masks are murder.
Well, not only, I had people yelling at me when I didn't have one. I didn't even watch the news. I didn't know we were supposed to be wearing them. I had an old lady yelling at me in the park as soon as I stepped out of my car.
What are you trying to do? Kill me?
In the parking lot. Where's your mask? I was like, what the fuck did you just say? What just popped out of your mouth and went in my ear? But, you know, after 9/11, like, there was unity and there was an ideology, and you had a W up on the good old W up on the news talking about evildoers and, you know, why'd they bring down
this axis of evil?
Why'd they bring down our buildings? Because they hate our freedom. It's so obvious, and everybody just fucking goes along. It's an ideology. No, nobody believes in shit. There was a bunch of money trading hands, and something didn't work out to somebody's advantage the way they wanted it to. And in my opinion, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, I think with that conflict, it was the military-industrial complex. I think we needed a new enemy, and we needed to have a war. We needed to sell some fucking weapons. I would be interested to know your opinion on what perverse incentives you think are at work right now in the current conflicts that America finds itself. America has been at war since World War II.
Well, we've
constantly.
I mean, when you look at the history of the world, there has been some kind of globally spanning conflict constantly. It's like you sit there.
No. Yeah, but you can't say the history of the world. Somebody's always fighting. Yeah, of course. But America has been consistently at war since World War II.
Yeah,
that's nutty.
But what I'm saying is I think that it's more that we've almost consistently been at war since before the inception of our nation. I mean, you figure we had the French and Indian War, which almost led directly into the American Revolution. We had a slight reprieve before we were asked to intervene in France's revolution, but we're like, we can't afford to do it. I think that's the only war that we stayed out of, even though we fucking owed those guys, because we wouldn't have had our country if they hadn't intervened, because the American Revolution was nothing if not a proxy war between fucking Britain and France.
I don't know, man. I see a difference now. You don't see a difference now?
Well, but hear me out. We're going to keep going. So then you sit there and you have the War of 1812, which was between the British and America. Then you sit there and you go from that almost directly into the Civil War. The Civil War almost goes directly into World War I, which almost goes directly into World War II, which almost goes directly into the Korean War, which almost goes directly into Vietnam, which, like, we've been at war forever, man.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Okay. All right. But I mean, none of it's based on ideology. It's not because certain people that we elect
That's how it's sold to us.
That's what I'm saying.
I know, I'm agreeing with you.
That's what I'm saying. So what perverse incentives do you think are behind? I know, what is it called? Burisma or something?
Hunter Biden, yeah.
Hunter Biden has a big thing. He's basically influence peddling.
So the whole thing with the Hunter Biden situation.
And it's very strange that after he's influence peddling with this huge Ukrainian company, we end up in this massive conflict. So not only do we pull all of our troops out like overnight, Afghanistan, right? Where people are like falling off of planes that are taking off from the airport. Like the footage was so horrific that I saw on the news. I stayed home that day.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't even go to work. I was like,
that's
pretty
weird. Yeah.
Crazy. What's going on? And then like a week later, everybody's got Ukrainian flags on their Twitter profiles and we're in a new conflict. Forget about that shit. We need our resources over here now. So, it seems very opportune.
So
very strange.
It's very opportunistic what people do in the backgrounds of those things, but you have to understand the backgrounds of each of those conflicts. So if you sit there and you look at why the war in Ukraine is going on, the war in Ukraine is going on because years ago, at this point, Russia annexed Crimea. So they sat there and they did what Nazi did to Poland at the beginning of World War II. That's why everybody gets nervous about the whole situation right now. So Crimea belongs to Ukraine. Ukraine used to be part of the USSR. Mm-hmm. And so Putin essentially, as far as is my understanding, sat there and said that the people who lived in Crimea, because they are, basically he was doing like kind of like I'm not calling him Hitler, but he was doing a Hitler-y thing where he was like, oh, there's people in there who are...
We're all human, and once in a while we all do things that are a little Hitler-y.
Everyone gets a little Hitler sometimes.
Every once in a while I got a little shadow right under my nose.
Whenever I shave my face fully, I always check out the Hitler mustache as I'm clearing
just to make sure you're still uncomfortable with the look.
Yeah. But no, so you like these conflicts haven't happened like one after another like that. It's overlapping. So it's like Russia.
Well, yeah, obviously it's overlapping. Otherwise, we wouldn't have withdrawn from Afghanistan so fucking quickly. We had people dropping off of planes.
Sure, and I don't know why we did that. Just like basically you also had the thing with
because we needed all of our resources over there yesterday. That's what it looked like to me.
That's not the timeline, though. That's what I mean. So, like, us pulling out of Afghanistan was before... So, Russia had already annexed Crimea.
Right.
But we weren't in conflict with Russia. We just had sanctions on them.
Right.
The reason why we pulled out of Afghanistan is because Trump promised that he would pull out of Afghanistan. So he sat there and he had that all set up already. Just like he sat there and pulled the forces out of the area in Syria where all those people who were working for us suddenly like started getting mowed down by Turkey and shit.
It's a little sus that of all the things Biden doesn't do that was Trump's plan to do, that's the one that he... we got to do that. And by the way, we need everybody out right now. And people are trying to like grab onto the fucking wings and they're falling off. Are you fucking kidding me?
The reason why the pullout...
I'm not blaming any one president. I'm saying it's a little weird that like, holy shit, we just all of our resources, let's scoop them right up as quickly as possible, is obviously a fucking rush job. And then, you know, not very long later, we're in a conflict with Russia.
Sure. So as far as
if that doesn't seem staged to anybody else, call me a conspiracy theorist. That looks strange to me.
So being strange or not, my point is that you can still have ill intent and perverse incentives without having conspiracies and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm not arguing with you that the incentives.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy.
Oh no, but what I'm saying is what ended up happening.
If they conspired, it would have went better.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I don't think it would have been as shitty as it went down if they got together and said, let's sit down and figure out the best way to do this.
Yeah, so what ended up happening is we were planning on pulling out of the Afghanistan area anyway, because the Taliban was slowly taking over the government.
Yeah, I get that, because we were pulling down we've been knocking down our troop numbers since Obama was in office, and the Taliban never went anywhere. They were gaining ground. I get all that.
Yeah, so we had a timeline for our
I
pullout.
understand that.
Okay, and then we ended up finding out that the Taliban was
ended
on
up
a faster
fucking
timeline.
it up.
Yeah. The Taliban was about to overthrow the government, and we thought we had a month, basically, is what the stupidity comes down to.
Well,
and that's why it ended up with that
case.
hasty
and then,
pullout.
hey, guess what? Russia.
Sure, because then
and
Russia...
then South Park does that episode about where everybody's like... member berries and everything.
Yeah.
everybody's like nostalgic for the 1980s and the Cold War.
You remember the Cold War? I remember the Cold War.
Everything used to make sense. We had a clear vision of who the villains were. Everybody was so patriotic. Everybody was so unified.
I do have to say, it's been the little bits of things that I have caught. It's super weird to me how like the Republican and right-leaning people have like suddenly jumped on like Russia's good kind of thing. Is that weird?
Are they?
I mean,
like Russia's good?
Like not that Russia's good, but that like we shouldn't be helping Ukraine because like Russia is correct in what they did.
Well, no. I mean, the fact that we have been using Ukraine as a political pawn to try to disempower Russia by getting them closer and closer into NATO that's our fault. This is blowback for a lot of shit we did. Just like most of the world's problems.
Most of world politics is specifically
blowback against shit that we're
America's hens coming home to roost.
That's what it seems like to me. You know, the more I pay attention, that's why I try not to, because I don't.
I hear you.
Yeah, I don't like thinking that I'm in any way associated with all of this fuckery. But I am to the extent, at least, that I happen to physically exist on the same land geographically. So there's that.
If not the same plane of existence, which I try to leave constantly.
I certainly do. And if I could claim the moment I can claim aspeciation, I will make a scientific argument for myself. But, you know, so I mean, I think that a lot of people's eyes are opening up to that. And the only reason, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a Republican apologist. I think the only reason why they're allowing their eyes to open up to this being blowback from shit that we've done is because it's getting so fiscally out of hand. And the Republicans historically just have dollar signs in their eyes. That's all they give a shit about.
Which is super funny because they're always the ones who inflate the debt. It's so weird.
I think they both do, but you know, fine.
Oh no, everybody does.
Hey man, the Democrats are great. I love them. They're fucking awesome. They're amazing. They never make any mistakes. And the Republic, Jesus Christ, everything that the Republicans say the Democrats are doing, they're the ones that are doing it. I get it.
My point is everything that both sides say the other one is doing, they're all doing. I'm fucking agreeing with you.
So let's not say it's so funny the Republicans.
Well, because they're always on about the national debt. The Democrats aren't. So it's funny that they're like, oh, the national debt's gotten out of hand. As soon as they're in office, spend, cut taxes.
Everybody spends.
I know.
I think the Democrats usually raise taxes.
Yes, they usually
raise taxes more. Yeah. So like that makes sense too.
Yeah, they need the revenue.
In any case, who is increasing the
national debt? Both
the deficit. Yeah. Who is increasing the deficit at a greater rate? I don't know. That's you could spend your whole life analyzing that and still come to different conclusions. It doesn't matter. They're both doing it.
I think no matter what, they're doing it kind of in equal measure.
It's a uniparty.
No, I gotcha.
It's a uniparty. There's anybody who thinks that there's an ideological conflict in any election or any war that America's involved in today is fucking stupid. It's all about perverse incentives. It's all about profit. It's all about protecting the petrodollar. It's all about raising our debt ceiling without worsening our credit. It's all about maintaining this bloated pig of an empire that's half decayed, and we're still trying to strip the last bit of bacon off its belly that doesn't have mold on it yet before the whole fucking thing goes belly up.
I hear you.
It's ludicrous. It's fucking crazy, man. I'm wondering specifically, what perverse incentives made us do that fucking breakneck jerk out of Afghanistan and into Ukraine, and now slowly backing off this whole Russia bullshit and going over to eat some hummus. We're doing something with hummus over in the Middle East.
Well, I think
the cracker salesman.
PETA, you mean?
PETA.
Like not PETA.
PETA. No, I mean they're throwing red paint on people, and now they're selling
PETA.
They're selling their flatbreads at inflated prices because everybody's focused on Middle Eastern hummus.
If you inflate it,
it's a conspiracy.
If you inflate it, it is no longer flatbread.
God damn it, you're right. That's what they're after.
They're after our breads. They're after our secret leavening technology.
You have to inflate it. It's the Western way. I'm legitimately curious because everybody who I hear talking about this, who's like not stuck in a Zelda hole like I am, is talking about how we are shifting our attention and our resources rapidly away from the Ukraine towards Israel. And of course, because why wouldn't we?
It's because Israel is the larger proxy war. Like, so.
How so?
So the whole thing is that, like, yeah, we don't like Russia, but we're invested in Israel. We're not invested in Ukraine. We're trying to get Ukraine into...
Aren't we invested in Ukraine? I seem to remember us throwing billions of dollars over there.
Ukraine's literally being invaded, and we're trying to get them into NATO so that we can have spies right on the Russian border. I get why Putin doesn't want it. You still can't invade a sovereign country.
Yeah, but to say we're not invested in Ukraine is fucking ridiculous.
I mean, like, to the extent that we're invested in Israel. Like, Israel's our baby.
I gotcha. We have, I think overall, let's look that up. Who historically, dollar by now, who have we given more money to? Who has the United States invested more money in, Israel or the Ukraine?
So here's the thing is I don't think you're going to be able to find a clear-cut thing on that because I think we're invested in Israel's commerce. We're invested in protecting Ukraine. We're invested
but we're invested in Ukraine's commerce as well. The reason why we're engaged in this conflict is because...
Cut off the presses!
All these countries have so much vested interest in rebuilding after the struggle is over. You heard about that. BlackRock and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs.
Everywhere all the time.
Of course. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be looking, but I mean, come on. If you were an investment banker, wouldn't you want a lot of shit to get blown up? If you were the New World Order, wouldn't you want everything to get torn down so you could remake the world in your image?
So it's not about it being torn down so you can remake it in your image. It's about all of it getting exploded to the point where it's essentially worthless so you can buy it for pennies on the dollar and then rebuild and resell it.
Exactly! Yes! That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm agreeing.
Yes.
We're not in conflict here. Right? I was just talking about the specifics of, I think that what you're looking at with, we're pulling out of Ukraine to Israel. It's like, we're not really. It's just that the Ukraine has become a political football, so it's become politically dicey. Israel's an easy thing because you can call anybody who doesn't support the war an anti-Semite.
Jesus Christ, but it's so weird. There's so much anti-Semitism now that's tolerated. Like, all of a sudden.
Is there?
I've seen some.
Is it anti-Semitism or is it anti-Israel?
I don't know, man. All these Antifa assholes that had like Ukrainian flags on their Twitter profiles and everything, they're like super against Israel in all this.
Well, I think
they're not getting any backlash.
Sure, because I think that that's because the whole thing is that I would like to sit there and say that I don't believe that their ideas are necessarily anti-Semitic. They're not anti-Jewish people. They're anti what Israel is doing to Palestinians.
Really anti-Zionist.
Yeah, so they're against the Israeli state, not the Jewish people.
Well, I get it. And I was expecting you to offer apologetics for them, but, you know.
No, I'm not really offering apologetics for them.
I knew it was going to happen. Good.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is that I think that the point that they're making, and again, I don't know a ton about the history of the area, so I'm only taking people's word on it, is that you have a situation with the Palestinian people, and so you've got the Hamas terrorist attack, which it's the nebulous thing with terrorism. It's the same shit with 9/11 and everything.
Well,
we need to fight terrorists, so we're going to invade Iraq.
I heard
Iraq as a country, terrorists are
a sovereign nation. I heard somebody make a really good point about this. They said, first of all, you have to understand that not everybody in Palestine eats hummus. Hummus is largely occupying Palestine. Okay, they're forcing all these people to eat hummus. It's not Palestine per se. So it would kind of be like, you know, the Taliban, and then we go into Afghanistan, we attack Afghanistan. Yeah, same thing. Same thing, except one's a food product. So I wanted to read this quote.
Okay.
I hope it's a quote.
Quote with nebulous quotation marks around it.
Maybe, but it's really funny. Benjamin Netanyahu. What?
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Netanyahu. Jesus Christ, he should fucking change his name. All right, here's a quote, apparently from 1990. Made public by Gordon Duff of Veterans Today. There are sources cited. Here's the quote. America is a golden calf, and we will suck it dry, chop it up, and sell it off piece by piece until there is nothing left but the world's biggest welfare state that we will create and control. This is what we do to the countries that we hate. We destroy them very slowly.
So Benjamin Netanyahu, if I'm correct in this, is the leader of Israel.
Or was? Is he still?
I'm pretty sure he is.
I don't know. Who's the current leader of Israel? Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. You're right. No, well, click on it. Make sure it's like current dates, because sometimes Wikipedia will come up like that.
No, battles on all fronts amid blah blah blah.
Yeah, 74. Holy shit.
Yep.
Why is everybody in charge in the world right now like almost an octogenarian?
Because
or an octogenarian.
They're the ones who have the money to be in charge of everything. Do you have any idea how much it costs to run for office?
I'm assuming it's at least 5 figures.
That's 6. That's
yeah. I was fucking checking. Dumb.
But yeah, so they are attributing that quote to the Prime Minister of Israel. I feel like that paper is probably anti-Semitic. I'm just going to sit there and say that.
Veterans Today. All right, fair enough. Maybe. Was it just Veterans Today? I don't know. Certainly takes our money.
They've got him giving the racist okay sign, too. Look at that.
Ooh,
look at that.
He's giving the racist okay sign. So Benjamin, employed at the time as a Soviet agent. Oh, in a covert conversation taped in 1990 at Fink's Bar in Jerusalem, a well-known Mossad hangout. That's true. Mossad has ties to Russia. I forgot about that.
Well, everybody's got ties to everything.
In the intelligence world.
Oh, my point is the Taliban has ties to our CIA.
Right, exactly. And who invented Al-Qaeda? These guys.
Yeah, right.
Taken directly from the transcript of the recording, which was witnessed and has been 100% fully authenticated. Shown here making the satanic sign of 666 at that meeting. See, if you're a Christian conspiracy theorist, this is 666.
Yeah, it's satanic if you're on the right. It's racist if you're on the left. It's okay if you're not a retard.
If you're a Democrat, this is white supremacist. And if you're anybody else, this just means okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So even if he did say this, and listen, man, I'm sure that anybody who's in power in Israel has to have some sort of Zionist leaning. I don't think the Zionists really have any love for the United States or the Western world.
I feel like they do.
But if he was in Mossad and was talking to some, Russian agent, maybe he was just telling him what he wanted to hear. I mean, we don't know.
That paper saying that he is a Russian agent.
What?
Wasn't that paper saying that he is a Russian agent? That
Employed
he was
at the time as a Soviet agent in a covert conversation taped in Jerusalem, a well-known Mossad hangout. Yeah, but Mossad, we just said, everybody has ties to everybody else. The CIA deals opium. The CIA is the biggest drug dealer in the world. Yeah. And the biggest arms dealer in the world.
They get it from the poppy fields in Afghanistan and Vietnam. Yeah, I got you.
There you go. Okay, so to say that he was never a Soviet agent would be more of a lie.
Sure, I just like the layers. I just like the layers of things that are going in there. So they're saying that the current prime minister of Israel, at a time when he was a Russian agent in Jerusalem at a bar working for Mossad,
do you think
threw up a satanic symbol and said that we're going to take down America?
So do you think,
Israel wouldn't exist without America's intervention, right?
Do you think that maybe because he's a Soviet agent, he started importing hummus to draw our attention away from the Ukraine?
I think there might be opium in that hummus.
Might be a false flag.
Yeah. A false pita.
Well, I haven't seen anybody getting red paint thrown on them lately.
That's why it's a false pita.
Largely silent. And I thought that's because, we have so much
silent but breadly
vegetarian meat going on. I was trying to hold out. That was pretty good. I was like, I gotta give him that. So, I don't know, man. I want to see. I want to know who's making money on this, other than Lockheed Martin and Boeing and
they'll all make their money, and all of the realty companies will make money. All of the humanitarian charities will make money.
Now, doesn't
all of the everybody's going to make money? War makes money.
Now, doesn't it seem like here's a conspiracy?
It's the commodification of suffering.
Well said. But the suffering is perpetrated on purpose. It's not a crime of opportunity.
I think it can be both, but
it can be a crime of opportunity.
I would say that there is usually with
I think nowadays unilaterally this shit's planned out.
I think specifically with something like war, there's somebody who is doing it with intent. I think everybody who jumps into it are probably opportunists.
Right.
But obviously,
the situation is created intentionally.
For a war to occur, someone has to have intent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was wondering, do you think that the reason why we switched gears, because, people in Afghanistan were like, how long is this fucking thing going to go? Can we get out already? I mean, there was our government lives and learns, and the deep state lives and learns, and all of these military contractors live and learn. Hey, let's not stay in the same place for so long to give the people the option to gain a memory. Like all of a sudden, how long have we been there?
Literally 20 years.
Shit. Yeah. So let's keep people's memory short. And the way you do that is you keep changing conflicts. Like, let's stay in the Ukraine for 4 years. Let's jump over now to Israel. What's next? Maybe Iran. Who knows?
I don't know. I think that you're putting a little bit too much stock in the movement of those things. I think I do honestly have
Afghanistan to Ukraine, I'm sorry, I don't think I am.
That was
fine.
Very
strange.
And we can have different opinions
very
on
strange.
that. Afghanistan was a long time coming, and that's why I guess I have a different opinion on it, is because there have long been reports of things just steadily going south over there. The fact that we couldn't hold on to any kind of power, no matter how much we tried to intervene, we couldn't stabilize the government because there were so many people who were in support of the Taliban.
I know.
It's like, so it was something we were never going to win. It was a second Vietnam.
Listen, man, I just remember watching that footage of the people falling off the airplanes as they took off, and something about it looked staged. I was like, this is weird. This is meant to get my attention. It is being thrown out there blatantly to catch my eye, to make me feel a certain way, and I can't tell exactly what they're doing. And then, not too long after that, we're back in the Cold War with Russia. And I don't know, something just clicked. It felt like a psyop to me.
I understand that. I think that that's because things move so quickly and stupidly these days. I do think it's easy to feel like that's what's happening. And I don't think you're crazy for thinking that.
Now, I'm not saying...
I think that's a perfectly sane opinion to have.
I'm not saying
I'm
that
just
Hummus...
saying I'm not sure if it's that.
I'm not saying that Hummus is part of that same psyop.
Oh, and the only reason why we're pulling away from...
speculating, like, wouldn't it be funny if...
Sure.
Here's a conspiracy theory. Hey, man, we got to switch conflicts up every 3 or 4 years, otherwise these people start gaining a memory.
Fucking iPhone models?
What?
What is it, fucking iPhone models? Get the New World War.
Yes, absolutely.
Now with additional bloodshed.
These people they can't be like, well, this war has lasted forever. Well, yeah, it has. It was just with somebody else a couple of years ago.
No, in all honesty, I think it's just that the way that, like, everything's been running and between the economy strife and all of that, I think
it's getting bad out there.
I think that this is something that was just going to happen eventually globally. Like, I don't think there's coordinated
Does it seem like the world is just legitimately going down the tubes?
Yeah, I mean, if you make living a normal life untenable for the majority of the people in your country,
and the more of a cash grab that you have, that's the side effect.
Yeah. And
living life is just untenable for most people.
And people can only take that for so long, and desperate people do terrible and desperate things.
It's a whole lot of lack of foresight.
I would agree with you there, and you would think that somebody would but you know what the thing is like...
Well, let me tell you.
This is where the crimes of opportunity part comes in, is because this shit starts happening and everybody just uses it a political football in order to fleece their pockets or push their agenda. Usually both.
I'm going to speak directly to the illumined ones for a moment.
Wait, they're stuck in a loom?
No. Okay. No. And hummus, by the way, is Hamas.
Oh my God, it makes so much sense now. Wow.
Now you know what we're talking about. So I think now is about the time for the New World Order to step up. I think crimes of opportunity, this is it.
See, I just bought a lot of stock in a hummus manufacturer. I just bought from Sabra, and like I was doing that on my phone while I had the camera on you, and now I feel like an idiot. I thought I was going to work on getting, since hummus was in such demand right now.
I'll try to eat as much of it as I can.
It's gonna suck, man. I hate hummus.
Yeah, I think it's all right.
I mean, you throw a little like red peppers in there or something like that. You need something else other than just
garlic.
The chickpeas. Yeah, garlic's pretty good. Yeah,
garlic's good. Now, I really do though. I mean, if you want to build back better, or make the world or whatever great again, start one piece at a time. Start in America, try it. You really do have to cause such chaos that people are begging for change. And I talked about this in our episode that we named "Crossing the Rubicon."
Mm.
I mean, we're getting close, in my opinion, to a time where people are going to start crying out for somebody to take control of this chaos and make something out of it. Create order out of it.
Sure, and the goofball thing about the whole situation is that the reason why that's happening, I don't necessarily think is something that's being machinated. I think it's just because it's become so blatant and brazen that you've got people on the right screaming, we need to stop those Democrats because you can't live your life in this country anymore. And then you got people on the left screaming, we need to stop these Republicans because you can't live a life in this country anymore. It's like, the stupid thing is it's people arguing over how best to be servants.
Yeah. I think they're ready for a strong leader. They are sick of weak leadership that's so transparently optimistic and is so transparently
it's doomsday now. It's not even optimism. Both sides are in pure doomsday mode. Vote like your life depends on it.
Did I say
kind of
optimistic?
shit. Yeah,
I meant transparently opportunistic.
You said
I
optimistic.
apologize.
No worries. I was like,
so
that doesn't jive.
They're sick of leadership that's so transparently opportunistic and claims that, you know, they have ideals when it's obviously they're just being led by the nose by incentives.
Yeah.
And those incentives are almost unilaterally perverse. People are looking for strong ideological leadership. I think they need a political figure that can cross the aisle, that is religious in nature. It just takes one strong, charismatic person right now, like we're right there. If somebody can figure out how to bring people back together in a religious way, in an emotional way, in an ideological way, whose actions look like it goes against incentive, is for the people, and then make a show out of that. Like, look, I could have made a bunch of money on X, Y, and Z, but instead I know that's not good for the people. I did this.
Yeah, here I have all this power in Article 2, and I don't even talk about that the 7 times I've mentioned it.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Donald Trump, anyway.
Yeah, well, anyway, I wasn't talking about Trump.
Nah, I know.
We are ripe for
I'm saying that's how we got into power, is because we were already ripe for it. For a populist to come into power.
Oh, we're so ready for a populist, but that populist can't be divisive. The populist that I'm talking about has to be able to... Why bring up fucking Trump, man? I'm not talking about Trump.
I was bringing it up as a symptom of what you're talking about. It's like that we're basically halfway there. All you would need some ways that everybody can agree on.
Fine.
But I mean, sorry, I wasn't. No.
I just, you know,
I'm not making it partisan. I'm saying, yes, I agree with you. We are primed for that. We kind of already did a test run.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. How can you call the most divisive presidency in our history a test run for fascism?
No, never mind.
Fascism is, by definition, unifying.
Yeah, but he unified a bunch of disparate people in order to get the Republican vote because the Republican Party was kind of on its heels. Never mind. I wasn't trying to turn it into a partisan thing. Go on.
Thank you. I don't know, man. I
don't know what you're... Anyway.
I feel like we're right there. And you need somebody that can cross the aisle. You need somebody that makes people on both sides of the aisle believe in something again. The people, at least of this country, I would speculate most of the world at this point are so fucking cynical. We're fed up. It's so transparent.
I think that in the event that does happen, I can already tell you what's going to happen after that, regardless of what side of the aisle or like what the person's espousing, like whoever can bring everybody together.
That person will get blamed for everything that goes wrong.
Oh, no.
Immediately.
I think that what will actually happen, though, is that they will go to root out corruption in the government, and it's going to be very much like Stalinist Russia, regardless of whether or not they're a communist.
Oh, yeah.
There are going to be so many political murderings. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Because
that's the next thing.
That's going to be the only way that somebody is going to be able to take that populist stance and show that they're not part of the corruption, is to sit there and literally jail or murder their political dissidents.
Most likely. Well, I tell you what, most of the people that would be put in jail by somebody like that probably deserve. I'm not going to say anybody deserves to be murdered.
Sure, but I think
without at least looking them in the eye and grabbing their balls and asking them to cough first.
But
most of them belong in jail. Absolutely.
Much like Stalinist Russia, what's going to happen is it's just going to be a bunch of people who are well intertwined with whoever takes power, who are just going to take the place of those people that they jailed and do the exact same shit.
Yep. Oh yeah, I wasn't saying it was going to end well.
Oh yeah. No, I know we're agreeing.
Okay. I wasn't rooting for it.
Oh, no,
I'm just saying it looks like this is where we are.
I agree. There's definitely a fair chance anyway.
It is so obvious to me. It has to get to that point before it changes in any other direction. Like that is the next step.
I think the only thing that could happen that would prevent that would have to be something akin to the end of World War II. If we get into some kind of far-reaching multinational global conflict...
They're trying, but nothing's sticking.
No, I got you. But what I'm saying is if these conflicts bleed into each other and multifaceted sides start taking place where this country, and this country versus this country,
Right.
if it gets to the point where we end up in a factional war between countries,
Right.
I think the only thing that would stop everything from getting even more out of control is you're going to have something like what happened at the end of World War II, where you had such terrible things going on that there was a giant outcry for everybody to just stop for a minute.
Yeah. Time out.
You're going to have because you think about the reason why America had prosperity after World War II. It's like a large part of that, of what ended World War II in the way that it ended, was discovering the concentration camps and nuking the Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, those were two atrocities. One, we were like, oh my God, how could you do this? And on the other hand, boop.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I think that that's the only turnaround, is if we did end up in a global conflict that ended a certain way, everybody might...
That ended horribly enough that everybody was like, we can never...
Yeah, which is what they said then and immediately got into another fucking war.
We can never even flirt with that again. Yeah. I mean, we are so flirting with that right now. We're seeing like how close we can get. We're like doing like the Native American warrior thing of, what's it called, coping coup? Or whatever, where you touch your sleeping enemy, but you don't hurt him. And
I've never heard of this.
Yeah. I was taught this in school.
Huh.
Yeah, it was a rite of passage for a warrior. You were actually
to sneak into
in
the
a
camp
lot of tribes,
and sit there and touch an enemy and leave.
To touch an enemy and leave. That he never knew you were there, rather than kill him in his sleep. It was considered an act of bravery. It's called coping coup, I think.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, if I remember correctly. We are so flirting with that inevitable conflict again. Maybe it's because they know that the only other way out of this is to have that strong leader. That charismatic leader.
Either that or a big upheaval in policy, but they keep trying to tell us that we don't want the policies that might help us.
The American people, at least, are so ready for that.
Oh, sure. I mean,
they've been ready.
I think that globally it really seems like that. So you have what's going on in America with the haves and the have-nots. Whether you're on the right or the left side of the aisle, you've got like this untenable economic situation, this political vitriol, and then on top of that, I think in the greater world, you have countries looking at other countries. People in the Middle East who are impoverished with bombs going off every day, looking at us and be like, why the fuck are they allowed to have that? They're the reason why I'm in this shit. And I think that it's just a lot of like comeuppance for bad action that's been done on behalf of intensely wealthy corporations and interests. That is just, it's all coming home to roost again. And it's like it's almost like Halley's Comet. It's like, no, we're just gonna have this once every X amount of years.
Yeah, I don't know, man. One strong leader would take us right out of it.
Oh, sure, and put us into that whole other thing with the gulag.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. But all you'd have to do to stay at it,
just bend the knee.
Just be cool. Just bend the knee.
I think that
no nuclear war.
Accurate. But yeah, I think that will be very funny if and when that does happen, to see which side it's on and who gets super like we need to start a militia and overthrow the government and gets put in the gulag. Because like either way it goes, whether they're like claim to be Democrat or claim to be Republican, it's like somebody's going to be against them and sit there and start trying to attack them. And
let me be perfectly clear about what I'm saying here. In order for humanity to survive, the illusion of democracy has to fall.
No, I gotcha.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Which sounds like a terrible fucking thing to say. I don't see any other way out of it.
Definitely sounds terrible.
Because first of all,
not a fan.
No such thing as democracy anymore. Let's be honest. It is a plutocracy. Second of all, the more these people think that they have any say in the way that their lives go, the more untenable the situation becomes, because the people who are actually in charge have to continually feed into that illusion.
Oh, sure. And there's the new ilk of political people who are only in their positions because they've been feeding that illusion.
Because they've been feeding that illusion. Like, how many Congress people can we have that believe in QAnon?
Yeah, exactly.
How tenable is that? That's not the best and the brightest any more than W was, is it?
Yeah.
I mean,
but they're telling the people what the people want to hear. They're validating those people.
They're validating those people's idiocy.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. We need a populist that will take advantage of people's idiocy without validating it. We want somebody to take charge, not pander to us.
I think there's a distinct possibility that they break what's being used before we get that person. Because I don't think there's somebody who you could get that would be enough of a populist to reach across the aisle.
No.
Because they've made it so divisive. And who you are as a person is about very specific things now. And it's like, that's how they sway the voters.
That's pandering. That's the pandering mindset. That is, I'm being sold to.
Sure. But
okay, so what we need, what crosses the aisle, is strength and charisma. I don't give a fuck what you think. Here's what we're doing. That's what both sides of the aisle will respond to.
All it's going to take is one person at a press conference on their campaign to say, do you believe in QAnon? And they say, no, that's bullshit. Boom. 30% of the vote is not coming.
No, they just don't. That's not true. They just can't hem and haw about it. They have to be like, no, that's ridiculous.
No, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
And if you do it with enough strength and you're you have enough charisma, a lot of those people be sitting there, but maybe it is bullshit.
These people have their lives invested in this stuff at this point.
If you're scared to say QAnon is bullshit because you're worried about your votes, you're validating their opinion as much as the person that says QAnon is right on. Because they're sitting there thinking, if this wasn't true and it was ridiculous, certainly somebody in power would just come out and say it unilaterally, hands down, and nobody does. Because they all need the votes. We need somebody to take charge, not ask for power. That's the difference. That's the difference between a fascist leader, a strong leader, and an American politician. And is it going to end well? No.
Oh, no. Obviously not.
Everybody's ready for it. The vibe, you can smell it in the air. People are fucking ready for it.
Ugh.
Anytime I go on Twitter, which is not often, because I play Zelda for a living. Anytime I go on Twitter,
for a living,
I can taste it on my computer screen.
You need to stop licking the screen, by the way. It's been terrible to clean off.
I cleaned it up before you even got here. Stop pretending. I bought Windex.
And you especially shouldn't be licking the screen since I know what you did on the screen right before that.
You said you wouldn't tell.
Everybody likes the taste of their own brand.
I don't know, man. What do you think our flag will look like once we're a fascist nation? And do you think...
They'll probably just throw a bald eagle on what we've already got, and he'll have a machine gun and a headband.
I don't think he'll have a machine gun and a headband. But that's pretty funny.
Be like Rambo the American Eagle.
No. It's got to be something that speaks to people's emotions. You know, but it can't be the same flag because you have to show now that I'm here, things are different.
Man, I don't know if anybody's got that much charisma. You see the way these people drive around with these flags? Child.
Why are you doing that voice?
I don't know.
That was unexpected. It's like, oh my God, are you trying to get canceled? Can you do it on somebody else's channel?
What? I can't say child?
You can call me anything you want. I don't know, man. It seems like... Oh, and here's another question. Rather than the Federal Reserve, do you think we just adopt the World Bank as our currency installation? Because it's all based on the American dollar for the most part anyway.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't think
I don't even see why those two things are separate organizations.
That's what I'm saying is I don't think our currency has got anything to do with anything as far as that goes. I mean, it's like, you know,
No, that's not true. The more commodities that are traded on our currency, the stronger our currency is. That was conspiracy theory. That's the biggest reason why we went to war with Iraq after 9/11, because they had literally nothing to do with the terrorist attacks, if they were terrorist attacks. Is because Saddam Hussein was threatening to take his oil trade off of the dollar.
Okay.
And by the way, who instituted Saddam Hussein into power?
Oh, sure, I know it was our government.
There's pictures of him shaking hands with Donald Rumsfeld. So,
no, yeah, I know that it was our government that put him in power, just like it's our government who trained Osama bin Laden, you know.
You never heard that theory? That's the reason why we invaded Iraq?
No.
Yeah, he was threatening to take his oil trade off of the dollar.
All right.
So there's something called a petrodollar. That's basically the thing that gives our currency dominance in the world, is that most people trade their oil in dollars.
It's not just that just has a part to do with it. But
I know it's not just oil. I'm saying, but there's a thing that people say all the time, the petrodollar.
Yeah, but my
and that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, but my point being is that I don't think that losing Iraq oil off of the dollar would have that devastating of a financial effect.
I'm not an economist. I don't know.
Just because our currency has so much special standing in different parts of the world for different reasons.
From what I've heard...
No, I got you. I know you're just saying what you heard.
It would have been, I'm not going to say detrimental like the collapse of our country, but it would have been a really big hit.
No, I got you.
And, it was worth going to war over because wars are profitable anyway.
Yeah, I figured it was more that and kind of sour grapes shit between GWB and his daddy.
Let's not forget, this is the man that tried to kill my dad.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, well, you can't fool me again.
You can't fool me again. Watch this drive. Dude, how good was Fahrenheit 9/11?
No, yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah. I don't understand why Michael Moore is such a... I've seen a few things where he gets, approached in public, and it really does seem like, hey, man, all the cool shit that you put in... Fahrenheit 9/11 or whatever documentary, how come you didn't mention X, Y, and Z? And he's kind of a cunt about it. It's very strange.
I mean, I'm sure he gets that a lot, and particularly about stuff like that, because, I'm sure that part of that is people being like, you left this out of the narrative. And
I'm sure you're saying he just gets tired of being approached all the time?
I'm guessing, because everybody wants to be like, oh, how come you didn't investigate this? How come you didn't investigate that? It's like...
I thought Fahrenheit 9/11 was a hell of a documentary.
Oh, no, Capitalism, a Love Story was great, too.
Yep. Bowling for Columbine was excellent.
Mm.
I have nothing against any of that shit, man. I thought he did a great job.
I like the video that he directed for Rage Against the Machine.
He directed a video for Rage Against the Machine?
Oh, yeah, he's in it, too. He sat
there.
Really? Yeah, they basically did a guerrilla video shoot at the New York Stock Exchange at the time and ended up getting, hauled away by the police and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's just, crazy close-ups of guys with badges screaming and throwing papers around and stuff?
No, so it's the band playing, blocking the steps of the New York Stock Exchange, and the band sets up their equipment and starts playing, and basically, it's that interspersed with other B footage and everything, but eventually the police come up to, get the band out of there. Michael Moore's there because he directed the video.
Oh, cool. Oh, so they're not in it. They're on the steps of...
Yeah, they're on the steps on Wall Street, and they just, guerrilla ran in, set up their equipment, and started playing.
That's really cool. Dude, I was never... a huge fan.
I think it's for the song Sleep Now in the Fire.
I was never a huge fan of Rage Against the Machine. But first of all, perfect band name. If you want to start a band.
Especially if it's a politically motivated band like they are,
Perfect! And also, how perfect was the use of that song at the end of the first Matrix movie?
Oh, yeah. What song is that goes over the credits there?
Wake up!
Yeah.
Where Neo's flying into the air after he makes the telephone call to the system.
Yeah, and tells him what I don't, this is what's going to happen next. I'm going to hang up this phone and all that.
I'm going to show these people a world without regulations and rules and controls. A world without you. Where we go from there? Your call.
Yeah.
Then he puts on his glasses, he flies into
the air. And he looks up, and the camera just keeps pulling back, and then all of a sudden he's
and then Rage Against the
camera.
Machine comes on.
Come on!
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect use of music. I think I have a theory that's why Keanu Reeves is so successful, because it obviously has nothing to do with his acting ability. It's just the perfect use of music in every single fucking movie that he's in. My God, he gets lucky.
I think the other reason why he's so successful is that whole thing where everybody just knows that he's the nicest fucking guy on the planet, and like nobody wants him to fail. So I think when he shows up to an audition, the directors are just like,
look how hard the guy's trying. I gotta do something for him.
It's like, he's so sweet. I gotta give him a job.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh, honey, you can't act your way out of a paper bag.
Oh,
but you're
honey,
so adorable.
You're trying so hard. Let me do something for you.
I just feel bad. I feel bad. Who can say no to that puppy dog face?
Oh my God, that's funny.
There you go. There's our charismatic leader. Nobody will be able to say no.
Oh, yeah, but he's too nice. He's not going to tell us what's going on. He's just going to be, what do you guys want to do?
No, he's going to be like, guys, I got this. And as he opens the gulag and the concentration camps and everything, no, it's cool.
If he had the... no, okay, so 100% agree with you. If he had the audacity to be that person...
Oh, yeah, which obviously he doesn't seem like he does.
Could totally be that person. Like, we would all be like, President Keanu is opening up the gulag now, so things are definitely about to get better.
Yeah. Oh, no. He's only going to put the bad people in there. Look at that face.
Look
at that little punum there.
You think he's going to put you in there? He's not going to put you in there.
Why would Keanu do that to you?
He's going to put the bad people in there.
So that they can't hurt us anymore.
Stop being so cynical.
Just like River Phoenix hurt his heart when he OD'd.
It was Keanu Reeves, friends with...
Oh, Keanu Reeves has had, like, a rough life. That's why he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, but I thought that was, like, with his family and shit.
Oh, yeah, that too. But, yeah, he also ended up becoming best friends with the River Phoenix right before River Phoenix fucking OD'd.
Is he friends with Joaquin?
I don't know, maybe.
Joaquin seems like he'd be a little out there for him.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you get when you grow up in a cult, though.
Did he?
Oh, the Phoenixes? That's not their real last name.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah,
they all did.
Their family was in a cult, and they changed their name to Phoenix to, like, rising from the ashes after they left the cult.
Yeah, because that's not a culty thing to do.
Hey, when you're in a new age cult, you gotta be a specific type of person to have gotten there to begin with.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I feel like... I talked about everything I want to talk about with current affairs, being that I don't know shit about it because I play Zelda for a living. Was there anything else going on in the world we should touch on, or you want to wrap this up a little early?
I mean, I can't think of anything. There's all this stupid legal stuff going on with Trump, and there's stupid stuff going on in Congress. What's that joke? Wasn't it on The Simpsons where there's like the radio hosts get replaced by a robot? And it goes, those boneheads in Washington did it again. And like,
but it's just like a recording.
Yeah. And the guys, one of the guys who's getting replaced by this fucking robotic recording sits there and goes, wow, how does he keep up on current events like this?
Can I be honest with you, man? I mean, that's kind of why I don't keep up on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. Harry and I talk about this shit every fucking day. And I'm just like, I just can't take it that seriously because it is consistent. Nothing's changing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the same shit every day.
It's static insanity.
Month by month, year by year, decade by decade. So I'm not going to get angry about something that's been that way since I've been born. How can I get angry about it? It's like being a fish and being angry that you got born in the water. It's just like, it's always been there, man.
Sure, and I think it has a numbing effect on people, and I think anybody who... You're left with certain choices. When you disagree with everybody who's in a situation, is you either have to take up the mantle yourself or just admit that you don't care. And so it's like, if you're not, your vote's not going to matter. It's like, so unless you're going to run for office, and sit there and try to be the change that you want to see in the world,
Right.
then your only other option is to kind of not care, because caring about is just throwing gasoline onto a fucking dumpster fire.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be partisan in any way, shape, or form, you know, honestly, actually, that's the only thing about looking at any of this stuff that actually really pisses me off.
Is the crazy partisanship.
Coming across somebody that I can tell legitimately believes in something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you serious? It's time that you grow up and become jaded like the rest of us. You don't see through what's going on around here? You really can't see through that. You're that optimistic. Oh, you think this is the first one that's coming along asking for your vote that's not going to lie and cheat you? The first one in all of history. And it happened during your lifetime. Good job, buddy. You're so lucky you happen to be alive now, and you're voting, you're on the right side of history. Oh, I can't handle that shit anymore. No fucking patience for those people. I really don't.
Nah, I hear you.
I can't handle that anymore. Most of the people, you go online, you go on Twitter and shit, and I can tell they're just trying to get attention. They're playing the game.
Oh, yeah.
They're playing the game.
Like a lot of those pundits on both sides who are on Twitter who like just sit there like, everything starts with breaking news in all caps with a stupid little like red police light. Every fucking post. It's like, I'm sorry, guys. This isn't all an emergency.
Yeah.
This has been going on for fucking decades.
Like every time I see one of those,
what rock have you been living under?
Every time I see one of those pop up on my phone, I read it. Oh, I have one right here. It's not one of the sirens though.
Oh,
I read it and
so
I read it and I go, are you actually surprised by that? And then I'm like, no, they're not.
No,
they're not.
They're trying to foment anger.
When I can tell that somebody actually still believes in something, it enrages me to the point.
Their genuine nature annoys you.
Like it enrages me to the point where like, I want to start drinking again. Like, I'm like, oh, that's why I was an alcoholic for 10 years.
Oh,
let's get back into that. That makes the world make sense. And if it doesn't, it fucking helps. I can't stand finding people who still believe in things.
Nah, yeah, I hear you.
I hate it. And I hate them so much. They're fucking children. They're fucking children.
I just love, like, I don't know which one I get more aggravated with is the breaking news people who are doing all the show thing, or the people who are genuinely like having arguments with talking heads on fucking Twitter, like genuinely thinking you're going to sway this person who posted breaking news with a fucking red siren next to it, and the next words after that are Biden crime family, and then you've got this fucking dude who's like, no guys, you don't understand. It's like, these people aren't listening to you. They're here to yell at you.
And the person who posted the thing doesn't even care.
Oh yeah, or they
doesn't even care.
Or they just sit there and say, "Oh, shut up, you commie."
Now, do you think those fucking children who are running the streets in what's the fucking northwestern town, Portland, in San Francisco, the Antifa people, do you think they actually believe in their shit?
Yeah, I think a lot of those
I don't feel like they
do.
I don't know, man. I think about them and I look at them and I'm like, oh, this is your excuse to have power. This is a crime of opportunity. I don't think deep down inside they really believe in their shit. Otherwise, they would enrage me. And I think they're adorable.
I think they're adorable.
They don't piss me off at all. Harry shows me footage of people robbing stores in LA all the time. Like they have those flash mobs where they come in and rob because the government in California is like, it's under $1,000, we're not going to press charges. Yeah. So they just, flash mob. We're going to go in, we're going to steal a bunch of shit at the same time. That way security can't get us. Everybody run out with $999 worth of shit.
Yeah, it's called a snatch and grab. They've been going on since the 90s. It has,
Well, it's escalated. And I'm like, oh, look at those guys. That's so cool. Like they're playing like grown-up games. It doesn't piss me off. I don't think they believe in shit.
I think that the people who are doing that stuff, they don't believe it shit.
They don't believe in shit. I don't think the people running what's the fucking thing in Portland, the safe zone or whatever, where everybody's getting killed and beaten up. The safe zone where everybody's getting killed. What'd they call that shit?
Oh, I have no fucking clue.
Harry, what's the space in Portland where they have no cops and everything?
That's in the center where the mayor's house is.
Yeah, but what do they call it? They had a name for it.
I think they call it the People Zone.
It was something zone.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's adorable. They're running around with their little masks and everything and hitting people with sticks. And if anybody walks in with a phone taking pictures, they beat them to death. They don't believe in anything. If they did and they weren't beating those people to death, it would make me really angry. The fact that they're beating people to death with baseball bats for taking their picture when they're wearing masks lets me know deep down inside they don't believe in anything because they're calling themselves anti-fascists and then they're acting like fascists. They're just having fun. It's just a game. That's the way everybody needs to be. Everything in this world, in this country, right now, needs to be...
To these fucking kids.
There you go. Let's shoot them all with 9mm. Let's join in the game with guns.
Let's change the rules around. Let's make it worthwhile. If you got fucking balls, let's see if you do.
It's time to have fun.
See, I think the funnier thing than that kind of stuff, though, is did you see all the people who, after that, like, protest or something in Philadelphia, they went and robbed an Apple store? It was like when the new iPhone was coming out.
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, so there's a bunch of these people in Philadelphia, and of course they're all idiots and filming it, and like laughing about how so they break into the Apple store that's on Market Street.
Okay.
And they steal a bunch of iPhones.
Yeah.
And of course the store ends up getting alerted, and basically they've got like a kill switch that they can press because none of these things are activated. So all of a sudden all the screens on all the iPhones that they stole sit there and come up with a fucking warning. These fucking rocket scientists sit there and they're like, oh shit, it's got like a warning on it. What do we do? Smash them. And so they're sitting there, they're taking all of these brand new iPhone 15s that they ransacked this fucking store again. And then 2 blocks later, they're all smashing them on the sidewalk because they're worried that they're being tracked. Just leave them there.
I think they're adorable.
It was hilarious, yeah.
I don't believe in anything either. I want to be adorable too. I want to play. It's all a game. It's just a game. Everything's a game. It's just sometimes when you play too hard, people get hurt. But at least they don't believe in anything. They know they're playing a game. It's lovely. Seriously. Anytime I see somebody that actually literally believes in something, that's the only thing that pisses me off anymore. I can't handle it. It's like, how fucking stupid can you possibly be? You believe this asshole? I don't know. All right. I got that off my chest.
Well, apparently that had been festering for a while.
Not really. But,
I hate people who believe.
well, how can you? It's so stupid. Come on. Listen, okay, fine. Santa Claus comes down your chimney. Jesus Christ died on a cross for your sins. We have a Casper the Ghost father deity running around in the sky keeping track of everything people do and is apparently okay with it because he's not doing anything about it. And this politician is the first one in history that's not going to lie and rob you. Of course. It all makes sense. Perfect.
The funny thing is I do agree with you about the political stuff and everything, but it's like, yeah, but everybody believes in something is the funny thing, is that's the nature of belief.
I don't believe in anything.
So you don't believe that when you're doing your meditation that you're in a liminal space that you're trying to figure out. None of that's real.
None of it's real. I'm just telling you what I experience. I don't believe in any of it.
Okay.
That's the whole point of everything that I say when we have our metaphysical conversations. I don't think it's possible to believe in anything. Everything's experiential.
Okay. Fair enough.
So why would you believe in anything anybody else says? They might not even exist. All right, maybe I'm stretching it there. But there's no proof. The only person I'm sure exists is me, because I'm me. The rest of you might be figments of my imagination. And if everybody fucking lies to me, why am I thinking that motherfucker's the first person who isn't?
Hit subscribe to lie.
Lie to me, love me, lie. Alex Jones?
Sure.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be right back. And in all honesty, without lying whatsoever, my brother is going to be possessed by the spirit of Alex Jones so that he can bring you information and war. Stay tuned for the info war. We'll be right back.
Ready.
You know what bothers me about that? They're saying you can't be colorblind, but they're forcing me to be colorblind in order to enjoy the production, but then you know that they made that decision on purpose, so they're not colorblind. You know what I...
So I always feel
irritating.
Well, the irritating thing about it is that it's because trust me, it irritates the shit out of people on both sides of that because it's just corporate bullshit and everybody on both sides who has a fucking brain knows it. That's why people get mad at it.
Yeah,
they're not. I'm sure there are a handful of people, and maybe even a large number of people, who were actually pissed off about the whole Bud Light with that trans girl thing. It's like, but the vast majority of it, it's people being pissed off because of the bullshit pandery stuff.
I hope you're still recording, because I kind of want to work this in. You're not, are you?
No,
God damn it. Oh, you are? Okay.
I've actually even been switching the cameras and shit.
I almost got angry at Kid Rock because I was like, you believe? And then I was like, no, wait a second. He had to buy a bunch of Bud Light in order to do that. So he doesn't.
Oh no, and it was all for show because on top of that, there's photos that people took and lambasted him on the fucking internet because he ended up at a football game or a concert or something.
Drinking Bud Light.
Ah,
I love it. Yes. Okay. He's on my side. All right. I'm on his side. Okay. He's on my team. All right. I can't stand people who actually believe in shit.
I don't know. I sometimes get annoyed at the people who are doing that shit though, because it's like somebody's believing you. Like you don't believe anything, but somebody's believing you. Stop.
Yeah, but those are the weak. We're weeding them out slowly but surely. Don't you see?
We're making them feel empowered.
But that's like punch in the nose insurance for them. Give them a little power. They will be killed like so quickly.
Oh, Lord.
This is social Darwinism at work, okay? This is what's happening. The people that still believe in things are slowly being, they are being Oh, you're one. Here we go. Gulag for you.
I feel like it's the Orwellian thing of the pigs taking over the farm.
The pigs have taken over the farm.
Oh no, that's what I mean.
Yeah. We're finding out who still believes in the farmer.
4 legs good, 2 legs better.
Right, exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing entertainment, I am going to once again subject my brother to a dark, satanic New World Order ritual so that he is possessed by the reptilian entity that is responsible for the hack shill, whom I love, by the way, that we all call Alex Jones and the InfoWars. Alex Jones.
All right, nation, coming to you live here from InfoWars, here on the prison planet, and I'm telling you right now, this nation is an absolute wreck. And I'm a wreck, you're a wreck, everybody's a wreck, and now that we're here together, it's time for a wreck ending. Let's hit it.
All right,
let's see what we got here. Arranging a death of a loved one isn't easy, but there are companies and services here to help you every step of the way. We'll be publishing our Coping with Bereavement platform on Friday the 24th of February. Honestly, who sits there and writes it like that? That's a European liberal way to write it. It should be Friday, February 24th. Get real here.
Alex, hit the phone number on the bottom.
Oh, well, see? This is where we're having a problem, is that this is coming from communist Europe. This kind of stuff flies in the EU, where they sit there and they listen to all of these German people who are sitting there and telling them that they need to allow immigrants into their country. Yeah, right. So moving on. Now this all makes sense. So Friday the 24th of February in the Western Mail and Echo. If you can offer your services and wish to advertise with us on this feature, please call Claire or Emma on 029-203-14620. So here's what I don't get. I don't get why this headline was handed to me. So we're arranging for the death of our loved ones. Let's be real. They're all sitting there and going to be put out into cargo ships in New York and sent back to China so they can test how effective that virus was. So I don't even know why we're coping with bereavement. There's nothing funny about this. This is obvious. It's an obvious European communistic ploy to sit there and try to get you to arrange for your loved one's death. I'll tell you, they're right. It isn't easy. It isn't easy because you've got to wear a mask and I can't breathe through those things. All right, next we've got students cook and serve grandparents. Well, I'll tell you, this is what you do with your loved ones. You see, this is economical. If you sit there and you're dealing with the death of a loved one, especially your grandparents, cook and serve them. I'm telling you, you sit there and you look at stories like the Donner Party. They had the right idea. That's true American grit and survivalism. And I tell you, back behind these curtains, we've got cans and cans of prepackaged grandparents. You can sit there, we'll sell them to you. You can sit there, put them in your bunker. You get to keep your loved ones close next to your heart because they're in your stomach. All right, how to prepare pets for Thanksgiving. Here's another one, ladies and gentlemen. We got the holidays coming up here. I don't know if this is going to air before or after Thanksgiving, but I'm telling you, if you're sitting there and maybe you don't have grandparents, maybe you don't have parents, maybe you don't have a mother, maybe you were born out of a sprout that came out of the ground, maybe there was an alcove in the woods with a 30-foot tall owl and you suddenly sprang from its forehead like some kind of Hindu deity. I'm telling you, if you don't have succulent grandparents to eat and buy from us, we can powder your pets into a just add water slush that you can sit there and I'm telling you, you're alone on Thanksgiving. It's cold. You can't afford the heat. Your pets are dead. What are you going to do? Eat those motherfuckers because in all honesty, we have so many instant recipes for men just like you who are at home, overweight, divorced, kids won't talk to you, you got a dog, but you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, I'd feel better if I had some food. And so all it takes is a call to us. We have a patented 7-step process, and it starts with shaving your dog. We'll make a pillow out of its fur. You can sit there and we put it into a meat grinder. You get your choice of 7 different flavors, each made with secret hobo spices from the heart of the Tex-Mex border, where you can sit there and you can feel really, really good about these spices because they're not coming from across the border. We've got binoculars. We were watching what they were doing in the kitchen. We don't let the immigrants come over to actually give us those spices. We saw what they were up to, incorporated it into our food, so you can guarantee these are 100% American, ready for Thanksgiving pets that you can sit there and you can have for your eating enjoyment. Now, if you're going to eat those pets, I'm telling you, Thanksgiving's coming around. People are going to put the pounds on. So you need some of our supplements to sit there and get into the kind of fit fighting shape for after Thanksgiving when we launch full cocked into the next election cycle that started 4 years ago when the last one ended. So what we've got for you is we've got some supplements that are going to help you feel strong, defend your voting places from anybody who looks like they might be a little melanin intensive, to sit there and make the right kind of choices that you need to make at a voting booth. And you can sit there and proudly take these supplements, get jacked, get ripped, hold some big guns, and let them know who they should be voting for. What do we got?
Well, Alex, today we have the pineal solution.
So, the pineal solution, let me tell you, there's not a lot of things that Hitler did right. But what he did do... Fuck, man, you made me break.
I can't believe you went there. I can't believe you just fucking said that.
Sorry, the spirit got out of me for a moment there. Will Ferrell, I am not.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. God damn it.
I forget where I was.
I know exactly where you were, let me tell you.
You sure you don't remember, Alex? You really don't remember where we were?
Hold on, I have to get back into the spirit of things. So, like I was saying, there's not a lot of things that Hitler did right. But the one thing that he did get right was that when you have a problem, you need a solution that's going to cut to the core of the matter, that's going to address any kind of parts of your body, your nation, whatever you want to call it, that need to be segmented from everything else and possibly beefed up, done something with. I don't know. The point is they did a lot of experiments. So what we did here was we found the pineal solution. Now, what we've got here is we have secret technology that comes directly from now communist, then fascist Germany. But I'll tell you, some of the experiments that they did, they were trying to make Supermen. They were trying to make the Ubermensch. Now, what does that mean for you? We patented the technology by which they got these drugs. They sat there and they had these camps. They had the finest Jewish scientists volunteering to work on this formula. It's a patented formula coming straight from the best scientists that future Israel had to offer. Now, most of them didn't make it out of there because it was just a lot of really intense experiments that they had to run. But what we did is we actually grew plants in the soil outside of those ovens. Now, we sat there and we sprinkled them with secret Jewish spices that sit there and bring out the flavor of those plants and bring out the alpha male and the white supremacist in you. Now,
Okay.
if you sit there and you see blonde-haired, blue-eyed men marching down the street, goose stepping down, I'm telling you, they might not have the right ideas in their head, but I bet you they look powerful. Sexy, too. And what we're doing is we're trying to get all of that hate out of there and just give you the pineal solution for your musculature. All right, cemetery residents making a comeback. Now, this is concerning. Now, I just told you about where we get our supplements from as far as the pineal solution goes. This is actually an issue that we've been having because of some desecration issues with the graves of the scientists that we stole this technology from that they volunteered to the German economy and process at the time. We sat there and for some reason, violating these graves has made these dead people start coming back.
Watching your mental gymnastics is actually making me sweat. Please continue.
Yes, and I'm telling you, it's a workout. That's why I take the pineal solution. These abs don't unmake themselves. Now, if you're worried about this, here's what you got to do. Sit there, bring them down to our factory in Texas. I'll tell you, like I said, we've been spying on them. We can make a Thanksgiving meal for you out of any of the cemetery residents that are making a comeback. So, if you're worried about all of these zombies that are coming out of the graveyards near you, maybe you desecrated an Indian burial ground. I don't know how that works. They had a different religion. Their gods are different than ours. I don't know how that happens. I don't even understand. But frankly, if they're coming back, you got to send them back to where they came from. And the best way to do that is to cook them into delicious Thanksgiving sausage, eat them, and defecate instead of desecrate. And just put them right back where they came from, into the ground.
Alliteration.
All right, funeral homes bring cheer to senior citizens. Now, I'm going to tell you why. The reason why these senior citizens are so happy about these funeral homes is because they've got nowhere to go. They sit around wishing their families would visit. They get tired, bored, lonely. Tell you, sit there and bring them to these funeral homes. Got a Thanksgiving meal? Real quick. I'm telling you, we'll sell you those spices. We just need you to call the number that is definitely not at the bottom of your screen right now. And I'm telling you, it doesn't start with a 029 because we're not communist Europeans. We are fully erect, blood
hardened Americans who are sitting there and just ready to chow down on the patriots that came before us and the dogs that gave their lives to mitigate our post-divorce depression.
From all of us to you, here at the New World Order, for God's sake, invite your grandparents to Thanksgiving. And remember, we're watching you too.
So